What's up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be helping you guys pass your HESI on the first try. I just took mine this morning. I got a 94 overall. I gave myself just a couple days to study and I didn't purchase any study content. I only used free materials online and I got 100% in anatomy and physiology, which is the section I was most worried about. Got a 94 in math, 94 in grammar, and 92% in reading. All right, let's get right to the chase and start with the math section, because this with the anatomy section were the two that I was most worried about. The math section has 55 questions and you are given a calculator. I use the calculator on like almost every question. Even if I knew the math, I was using the calculator to check and double check. I'm not gonna say it was easy because what might be easy for me may not be easy for you, but a lot of this was a refresher. So really, I just had to refresh my memory. I learned this in like middle school, high school. I started off with the HESI practice exam, so I knew what I needed to work on. So anytime I got to a math problem that I didn't know how to solve, I would Google or YouTube methods on solving that equation. You're gonna be dealing with a lot of fractions. You're gonna need to know how to subtract fractions, add fractions, multiply, and divide. Like I said, a lot of this is just a refresher. You remember adding and subtracting fractions, you're gonna need to find a common denominator, then add or subtract. Dividing fractions, you multiply by the reciprocal. And multiplying fractions, you just multiply straight across. They throw in some easy decimal questions where you're just given a fraction and they ask you to give it as a decimal. So you'll just divide the fraction and sometimes it'll ask you to round to the nearest tenth. Proportions on the HESI exam. I got quite a few of these and they are really easy, but when I first saw this, I had no idea how to solve it. So the proportions will look like this on the HESI exam. If you don't know how to solve these, go ahead and Google or YouTube. It's really easy. You're just gonna set up a fraction for each one and solve for X. Conversions. There were quite a few conversion questions on the exam, which I was nervous about because I don't remember conversions at all. They start off with simple ones like convert this decimal to a percentage, and then you get into metric and volume conversions. I'm going to link the most helpful video. I watched this video once. There's two videos. I watched these videos one time and I was good to go for conversions. You probably remember it from like middle school. I'm gonna draw it for you guys really quick. But for like volume, you draw the big G. You do the 4 Qs because there's 4 quarts in a gallon. Then you draw 2 P's in each Q. I'm getting ahead of myself. 2 P's in each Q because there are 2 pints in a quart. And then inside each P is gonna be 2 C's because there are 2 cups inside of a pint. That might sound confusing. The video makes it way simpler, so go watch the video. And he also helps with metric conversions. He has a mnemonic. I think it's some ladies drink like some men. So just throwing that out there so that when you hear it again, it'll sound familiar. But those 2 videos were all I needed to see on conversions and I was good to go. Military time, I got 1 question on military time, but 1 question could be the difference between passing and failing. So there's a lot of different methods on converting to military time. I have a really simple one. I just count on my fingers. So I start at 12, 13 is 1 o'clock, 14 would be 2, 15, 3. You just keep going and it gives you the time on your fingers. And then temperature conversions, I got a lot of these on the practice exam, but I didn't see it on my HESI. I have seen some people say that they did have temperature conversions on their HESI, so you're gonna need to know how to convert Fahrenheit to Celsius and Celsius to Fahrenheit. If I missed anything for math, I'll throw everything you need to know in the description. We're gonna move on to anatomy and physiology because I actually got 100% in the section and I was so shocked because this was the one I was most worried about. The math section is kind of something you can play around with, but the anatomy and physiology, you either know the answer or you don't. I'm going to list a quizlet that I used for this section down below because this quizlet is so helpful. I promise you, if you memorize this quizlet, there are 197 questions. So I was starting out, like I said, I only studied for like 3 days. So there are 197 flashcards on this quizlet. It's not my quizlet, so all credit goes to the owner, but it was so helpful for this section and I highly attribute this single quizlet to my 100% score. Same thing with the math. I did a lot of practice exams. Those helped as well. Those are gonna be linked as well. The 2 things that I would say are just a focus point. Make sure you know directional terms. So anatomical positioning is the hands facing anterior. Away from the body is distal, closer to proximal. The line that separates your body to left and right is mid-sagittal, stuff like that. And then just as a general refresher, I would just make sure you're familiar with all the systems. So nervous system, digestive system, go through each system, and anything that you're unfamiliar with, just refresh. Maybe watch some crash courses on YouTube for each system. But like I said, the Quizlet and the practice test, all I needed. Next was grammar. Grammar was pretty self-explanatory. You're just gonna need to know things like dependent and independent clauses, verbs, adverbs, pronouns, things like the right version of to, which one is TOO, which one is TWO, TO, where apostrophes go, where commas go in a sentence, just basic grammar. I got a 94% on this section and it was fairly easy. Don't remember how many questions. I want to say it was like 30 something questions. Majority of the grammar questions for me were which sentence has incorrect grammar. The multiple choice questions would just be sentences, and obviously you just pick the one that was not right. I am linking some practice exams for the grammar section down below, but the practice exams for the grammar section are way harder than the actual HESI exam. So I would actually recommend mastering those. And once you get to the grammar exam on HESI, you're gonna think it's a breeze, because the practice exams ask you stuff like simple predicate. Questions like that may be on the HESI, but I didn't get any questions like that. It really was just dependent, independent clauses, verbs, adverbs, pronouns, nouns. But obviously each exam is different. My questions will probably not be the same as your questions. So like I said, the practice exam for the grammar was all I needed. Reading comprehension was also pretty self-explanatory. It's like the standardized test we took in like middle school. You just read a passage and you're gonna get about 5 to 6 questions on that one passage. It's gonna ask you stuff like giving the meaning of a word based on context clues, what the subject of the passage was. Pretty simple. I did score the lowest on reading, which is weird because it was like the easiest, but it's really simple. I did this one first because it was most time consuming and I just wanted to get out the way. But like I said, you're just gonna get a passage. About 6 questions are gonna be on that one passage. I would recommend reading the question first, seeing what it's asking you, and then reading the passage. And that'll help streamline the reading comprehension section a little bit faster. And then vocab, I didn't write down what score I got on vocab, but I know I did well. I did 90-something% on that one. That one is also something that I just use practice tests for. I know a lot of people buy the actual HESI study book, and there's like a list of words that they tell you to just memorize. Some people said some of them were on the HESI exam, some people said they weren't, but as I told you guys, I didn't purchase anything, so I just took practice exams. A lot of the words I didn't know the definition for, but you're given a sentence, so you just have to kind of use your context clues and process of elimination on the vocabulary section, and it was pretty simple. So like I said, I will link everything down below that helped me be successful with taking this test. I honestly was not confident going into it, but do everything I just said. Make sure you have everything down and walk in there confidently, because I promise if you do all this, you will be fine. If I could tell you 2 things that I would think would be most detrimental to your success on the HESI exam if you're not purchasing study material, would be the Quizlets and practice exams. Just practice, 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 and anything you practice and you don't understand, figure it out, go back to the practice exams, and you should be good. Best of luck on your HESI exam. You're gonna pass it on the first try, and if this is your 2nd or 3rd try, you got it. If you have any questions at all, please don't hesitate to leave a comment, because I will respond as quickly as I can. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.